Hey folks, welcome to another live stream for Effective Remote Work. If you're not familiar with who I am, my name is Justin. I've founded Effective Remote Work. We're a productivity community, and we have a number of different resources for people who want to be productive, who are remote workers, who love note taking, things of that sort. So, welcome to today's live stream. The main subject that I wanted to talk about today is just give you a brief look at Obsidian Mobile. Now, a couple caveats here. First and foremost is that Obsidian's mobile apps for iOS are one, they're in a closed beta right now, meaning that they're not ready yet for public use. I'm a VIP supporter of them, so I've gained access to this. But what you're going to see today is definitely might change in the future, and it's definitely something that I think will change your workflow as well if you're in the iOS ecosystem, but there are Android apps for it as well that are coming down the pipe too. Those are in beta as well. I am not an Android user, so I don't have access to those, but they're basically the same as this. Now, if you have any questions today at all during this live stream, and we can talk about anything, not just the Obsidian applications. We're just hanging out here today. We're not doing anything too formal. But if you have any questions at all, be sure to pop them in the chat box. If you're watching this video on demand later, leave them in the comments and I will be sure to reply to you there as well. So I've got my iPad up on the screen here. This is where we'll take a look at things primarily today. There is an iOS version of this. Again, remember, this is in beta. It's not publicly released yet, but it is I think it's just, I wanted to give you a little bit of a preview of what's coming down the pipe because I know there's a lot of folks who are interested in using Obsidian on mobile, and I mean, me, one of them. I didn't decide to do any of the other crazy stuff that you could do with it, like opening up vaults in OneWriter or anything like that, just because that workflow didn't work for me. However, with the Obsidian mobile app, I am very satisfied with this. I'm really excited that this is moving, and then it's something that we can actually use now in beta format, or really in alpha format right now. But I wanted to just give you a brief preview of it today. So I'm going to open it up down here. I can either use my touch screen or I can use my mouse. That's the thing about iPads, isn't it? You can choose, and it's kind of weird. But this is kind of the first screen that you get right now. It's in a private beta right now, but basically I just wanted to give you a look at the main screen here. So I've got a couple different vaults set up, but you can create a vault locally. You can sync a vault using Obsidian Sync. Local vaults can be synced using iCloud Drive. Those are the only options available right now. That might change in the future. But then we've got a couple. I'm going to go into my main Zettelkasten vault. The sweep will enter the vaults. And here you can see the graph view, the lovely, lovely graph view. And now, yeah, so I mean, like, the Obsidian developers, I have to say, are doing an exceptional job of iterating on this app, just like they do in Obsidian. But basically, you get Obsidian on mobile. You get the entire file explorer. You're getting community plugins, core plugins, backlinks, unlinked mentions, filters on the graph view, and everything. I mean, I am really, really excited for this. So, I mean, you can do anything really in here that you could do in the Obsidian app. There's a couple of bugs and features that are still being worked out. Like, it's not the easiest thing to click into links yet, but again, those are all getting worked on. There's a bunch of topics over in the Obsidian forums if you're interested in taking a look at those about the type of bugs that they're working on right now. But this, I think, is really, I think, what's going to make Obsidian shine. Because having access to your notes everywhere through Obsidian and be able to see the links, to be able to link within your vault without having to mess with a third-party application, I think is going to transform, at least for me, it has transformed the way that I think about this and the way that I do work with Obsidian. Because what I was doing previously is I was capturing them into drafts. I'll open that up here real quick. I would write my notes into drafts, say I was reading a book out mobile, say I was sitting down at my kitchen table, but I didn't have my laptop with me. I would have my phone open or my iPad, and I would just be typing notes on, say, Remote by Jason Fried and DHH. And then I would type in all of my permanent notes here or all my literature notes here. And then when I was done reading that book, I would transfer it into Obsidian some point in the future when I was using that. However, now that I have access to Obsidian on mobile, and everybody will soon as well, I think being able to take those notes directly into the application itself, it's just a game changer. I'm writing down ideas in context of my notes now when I'm taking them on my phone or on my iPad. And I really just think that having that ability to do that allows me to be more creative in the moment. So instead of just capturing a thought and just saying, okay, here's a new note here, and say I want to write a remote work guide as a free giveaway. I could write down ideas in here, but then I don't really have a good solid place I can come back to that in a context. I think Drafts is a really excellent place to capture information and send it somewhere else. But when I'm working inside of Drafts, I mean, I see it as a very transient place for information. And as a result of that, I interact with it differently, I've noticed. So when I write something here, that's one thing. But then if I were to create this as a note somewhere inside of Obsidian, say I've got a personal vault that I'm working on that I'm not going to show publicly today just because it's got private stuff in there. There's a reason that it's private. It's just more of my musings and thoughts and things that I'm working on behind the scenes and all of that. But if I have an idea for a project that I want to undertake, I have a list in there of ideas in progress, where I've got links to different notes there, where what I do with that is, I guess I can show you in the mobile app here. I'll create a new vault. We'll just do that. Create a new file. So one thing I'll do here is I'll just kind of mimic this. So I just created a quick link there. Now, one of the caveats of the mobile app right now is that you have to go into preview mode to click on a link. They're working on that one too. So no worries there. But say if I wanted to work on this guide, I could come back to it and just kind of define what I want to do. On remote work, which is something I'm actually going to do in the near future here, is write a guide for people who are remote workers and some of the top things that you need to know about that. And let's see. So if I go back to my ideas in progress note here, what I can do is I can work on those ideas. And then I have a workflow where a link to this is in my daily notes. So I have a daily note template. Every time I open my vault for the day, it automatically opens up to my daily note with the template inserted for that day. So then what I can do from there is I've got a to-do at the top of that. I'll just show you an example here real quick. So 2020, not 2020. Apparently I'm in last year yet, right? 2020, March 2020 is the longest month that there has ever been. Isn't that right? I think that's the joke that I've heard recently. But anyway, March 19th, 2021. So example today note, I'll just put a little to-do item to review ideas in progress. So one of the things I do first thing in the morning when I'm beginning my day is I'm spending a little bit of time just reviewing the ideas that I have in progress and just seeing if anything sparks my attention. And if there is anything that sparks my attention, then what I'm doing is I'm just adding thoughts. So this is just an easy way for me to sweep through the ideas, the projects, or the things that are the top of my mind. And if there's any thoughts that I've had in the last 24 hours that I haven't added or anything that's sparked in my mind, I can do that. And the beauty of being able to have Obsidian on mobile now is that I don't need to be sitting in front of my desktop computer, and I don't have a laptop right now, and so I don't have that access. And I just find the iPad or the iPhone to be a heck of a lot easier to manage because it's single focus. So I've got my dock down here at the bottom with all the primary applications that I'm engaging with on my iPad, the applications that I want to be engaging with. These are the things that make me the most productive on the iPad. And so that's where I'm spending my time. And if I can just open up the iPad to my blank home screen here, tap Obsidian and get into my daily note, that's perfect for me. Let's see. Yeah, Greg, this is cool. So glad that you're a VIP with access to this. I think being a VIP right now is pretty awesome. To be able to get access to this. Obviously, this is going to open up throughout to everybody. And then I would imagine fairly soon, at least to insiders, it'll get opened up, and then it'll get released to the broader public soon as well. But if anybody is interested in getting access to the mobile beta, you can go over to obsidian.md and sign up for a VIP subscription. Or it's not a subscription, it's a one-time payment cost of $100, I believe it is, to gain access to VIP. It's just to support the development of the developers. But I think it's a definite good thing to do that if you're using the software, especially because it's so early on in its stages. It's hardly even a year old yet. It's hard to believe that Obsidian's been around not for very long, but man, it's been something that's been so crucial to my workflow. So that's really about it for the Obsidian mobile app. I mean, there's not a lot of crazy stuff with it. You can do basically anything you can in the desktop application. They're adding more stuff to it all the time. Obviously, there's going to be a little bit of restrictions with it if you're on iOS as far as file providers and stuff. So that's something to consider. You're not at this point in time going to be able to sync with Dropbox or a third-party file sync solution. You can either use Obsidian Sync, which is nice because that's end-to-end encrypted, or you can use iCloud to sync your vaults there as well. Gilson says, I hope that the future of this mobile versions can support third-party plugins. Well, yes, they can. I believe actually just the version that they just released for testing, you can load up third-party plugins. I'll turn safe mode off here. Browse. I can add the calendar plugin. Now it might be a little buggy here, so I'm just... Yeah, it's a little difficult to navigate around in some instances yet, but let's see. The UI is a little different yet here. I know they're still working on a lot of this, but let's see if I can find where that calendar is. Yeah, I think the difficulty is that there's some of the tabs aren't there quite yet, but again, this is a beta. Oh, here we go. So it's kind of a hidden little spot. You get the tabs here if you hit the back arrow, so I can get to the calendar there. And if I want to open up this note, which I don't have daily notes turned on, there you go. So yeah, you can get access to third-party plugins. If you do have access to the beta right now, I would be very, very careful with messing with third-party plugins. Just simply for the reason that you do have data stuff that can happen with it. So for example, the Obsidian Git plugin might not work as effectively as you would want it to on mobile. It might cause issues. I haven't tested with it. It might work just fine, but just thinking of different things, there might be some data issues there dealing with some of those plugins. So again, be very careful with installing third-party plugins on the mobile client at this point in time. That being said, I mean, for the day-to-day use that I use Obsidian for, I mean, the mobile client, there's a couple little bugs with it, but I know they're working out those, again, like largely with navigating around, with clicking links and that sort. But I think where it's at right now is actually very, very usable. It's surprisingly usable. So I got to give props to Lycat and Silver, the devs of Obsidian, because they just do a fantastic job with the software. I know I'm totally sounding like a fanboy right now, but I love the software, and I think they do an amazing job. Being in the software industry myself, seeing their rate of development, how they're responsive to their community, I'm very impressed. Any other questions about Obsidian Mobile? If not, I might swap over to my desktop here briefly, and maybe we can do a little bit of work on Zettelkasten. Or if you have any questions too about iPad stuff, workflows, and that I'd be happy to answer those as well. Like I did mention, I am in the process of writing a guide for remote work. I'm titling it a Remote Work 101 guide, but the concept is to have a resource available for people who are working remotely still and will be after the pandemic ends, to kind of help people develop in their journey in being effective in remote work, hence the name of my company, and the name of the channel. And so kind of the frame of this guide is to just be like a reference point for the kind of the top 5 skills areas to focus on if you're interested in developing your skill set in that area. So things like intentionality, because everything needs to be more intentional when you're working remotely, because you don't have those chance connections and things like that that are going on that you do when you're in an office. You're definitely not more synchronous. You tend to be less synchronous when you're working remotely. So there's a lot of stuff with that. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. So Greg is asking how syncing works. Gilson's asking about future versions of Google Drive or Dropbox support. So I'll tackle the Google Drive and Dropbox support stuff first, but kind of the gist of that right now is there are some differences between how these different applications are implementing the Files APIs in iOS. So you can, if you're on Android, I think you can put your files, your Obsidian Vault, just about anywhere that you can get access in on an Android phone, and you'll have access to those files. But on iOS, since there's restrictions with those APIs, you don't necessarily have that luxury. You can, like with OneWriter, you can open stuff like in place, I believe, with Dropbox and the like. But that's because they have created their own API integration with that. They don't use the built-in integration, which is kind of the difficulty right now with file providers. If you don't have full access to all the files through an application like Dropbox or Google Drive, through the Files app, through the APIs that are there, then it's now difficult for Obsidian's developers to integrate with those systems in the way that they need to get the app to work. And so I think at this moment in time, they're saying they're not focusing on developing that right now from the conversations that I've seen in the Discord for Obsidian, just simply because of development time and resources, unfortunately. So if you're on iOS, you will probably need to use Obsidian Sync or iCloud to sync your vaults. So it's just kind of a limitation at this moment in time. However, I do have to say that Obsidian Sync, I've been using it for the last couple months now, actually is pretty good. It works really well. It's end-to-end encrypted, so you don't have to worry about any of that. Privacy issues with your notes or anything. It's encrypted at rest. It's encrypted in transit. So, and it's encrypted in general. So the Obsidian team doesn't have access to it either. So there's that. So be aware of that. I think it's right now a deal of $4 a month billed annually. So if you're interested in signing for that, you can too. Let's see. So Greg was asking how syncing works. I'll show you how it works right now. I don't have iCloud Sync set up, and I don't really have a good example for that. I mean, what I did for iCloud on this one is I just created it with iCloud Sync. So let me get back to the home screen here of the app, create a new vault. You can store this vault in iCloud. I don't believe there's an opportunity to open a vault, an existing vault on Obsidian and the mobile app at this point in time. That might change in the future, obviously, though. But you can sync that through there, or I can Obsidian sync test. I'll just create one here. I'm going to turn the iCloud sync off and hit create. So this is where it gets a little tricky with Obsidian's sync setup, at least at this moment in time. It's pretty basic, but you have to go into settings in this new vault that's not synced. It's currently empty. And then you got to get into core plugins and then down to sync. And again, there's a little UI bug here. If I turn on the sync plugin in this vault, and then I'm already signed in under account. Here you need to be signed in with your Obsidian account for this to work if you have a sync setup. And then you can go into sync, and then you can choose the vault that you want to sync into here. Or you can create a new one if you want to initiate a vault on mobile. So that's how the Obsidian sync works. And then if you're syncing with iCloud, I would imagine you'd just be able to open up that folder in your that's stored in iCloud Drive on your desktop or your laptop or wherever you're opening that up right into Obsidian so that you can just edit that on your desktop. So WebDAV, I'm not the one to ask for that. If you want WebDAV as a feature, I would definitely recommend heading over to the forums at forum.obsidian.md. I would imagine that it's probably going to be a similar answer at this moment in time to iCloud or to Dropbox and Google Drive, that they have to develop their own custom integrations to get that to work. And so if WebDAV is a requirement, then unfortunately that might not happen, but I am not the one to make that call. That would be the devs. So that's just my judgment and assessment based upon the other answers that they've given, but they would be the ones to give the final answer on that, obviously. $64 question. Will Obsidian Mobile be out before Roam for mobile? Sounds like a loaded question, to be honest with you. But to be honest, I honestly think that Obsidian Mobile will probably be out within the next couple of months. Obviously, you can get access to Roam on the web on mobile. So technically, they beat Obsidian first to that, but their website, they can do that. Obsidian is not. It's local file storage. So I guess it'd be interesting to see where this goes, but I know there's lots of different priorities it seems like the Roam team has. So I haven't tracked with their news, to be honest with you either. Let's see. Chris is asking me to demo drawing. Well, I don't actually do drawing on my iPad. I have concepts here and then good notes because I primarily use them for sketching out and handwriting ideas. Concepts I have down here in my dock, I primarily use that for mind mapping or just big picture thinking in regards to ideas that I'm working on. It's not necessarily something I'm going and I'm sketching because I am not an artist in that capacity. I'm creative in other ways, but I'm not creative in that way. So, oh darn it. My gosh, I am so sorry. I forgot to switch over to the screen. I apologize, everybody. I'm still messing with this. Okay, let me redo the sync stuff here, and then we can talk about that again. So I will show you how to do this again. My apologies that I totally ruined that for everyone. So if I'm going to create a new vault, there's two ways you can sync, iCloud and Obsidian Sync at this point in time. You can create a new vault in Obsidian by just clicking this little thing here. I forget that my finger isn't shown on the screen either because I'm not used to presenting off the iPad. But you can store a vault in iCloud, and that's pretty easy there. You can't open up an existing vault at this moment in time, but again, I think that will change. And then if you want to set up a synced vault, I'll just create one here real quick. I will not sync it to iCloud Drive. Test sync. Brand new vault, no files in it. You go into settings, turn on not community plugins, core plugins, all the way down to the bottom. And again, there's a little UI bug here. It takes a second for it to show up, unfortunately. But, okay, I'll turn that on. Then you have to be signed into account here with your obsidian.md account, and then click on sync. And then you can choose your vault to sync if you already have one set up, or you can create a new one using sync as well. So again, sorry for not showing that earlier. I completely didn't realize that I didn't have my screen on. Thanks for pointing it out, Chris. But anyway, okay. So again, yeah, I've got concepts here and then good notes for stuff. I don't use those for drawing. I do have an Apple Pencil, but I primarily use it for writing and sketching out ideas versus actually using it for drawing. I am not very apt in that way usually. So Greg's asking, do I use MindNode to export my mind maps to Markdown? Sometimes. I think primarily the way I tend to think about mind maps is it's a way for me to get ideas out. For some reason, mind maps work really well for me to outline podcast episodes. I'm going to switch over to camera for a second, make sure I don't have anything sensitive on the screen here, and opening MindNode up. But I will open up a mind map so you can kind of see what that looks like. Okay, of course. For whatever reason, I cannot open those. I don't know why that is. It's kind of ridiculous. Some weird stuff that happens sometimes if you use third-party clients. I'm using Dropbox right now, but I can't open up any of my mind maps inside of MindNode. Oh, that might be due to Dropbox issue. So sorry, you can't see this right now. Let me just check. Okay. Let's see if I can get access to it now. 'Cause sometimes Dropbox does weird stuff, I've noticed. Nope. It's not working at all. All right. Well, I'll fix that. Instead, I'll just open up a mind map. And there we go. Okay. Sorry about that. Couldn't quite figure that out. But a lot of times what I do for mind mapping is I'll mind map out my podcast episodes this way. So I'll go like 084, title here, and then I'll just start working out ideas and try to structure them and arrange them. I don't usually do super involved outlines. Sometimes I write it out a little bit there, but it just works better with my brain to outline points. You know, I'm just making stuff up, obviously, here. But then I can start to develop these points. If I have different sections of an episode that I want to discuss, I can kind of highlight some things. I can, if there is a point in the episode where I need to script it out, such as if there is something particular I want to say about maybe something that we've launched, or I want to promo our community over at community.effectiveremotework.com, or a Discord over at effectiveremotework.com/Discord. I'll type out a little blurb there, but a lot of times I'm just kind of hitting the high points, the ideas that I want to touch on inside of that episode. And then a lot of times with the podcast, I'm just more freely delivering off of that because that's where I work best. I did debate for 4 years in high school, and that was how I did speeches all the time, was write down a bunch of points and an outline and then try to walk through those, and just kind of tie it all together as we go. So that's kind of the skill that I've developed over a number of years of doing that. Let's see. Chris is asking, does the drawing function work well? I would have to say on the iPad Pro, yeah, using the pencil is quite nice. I mean, it's really quite nice. I can show you really quick. I am not an artist, but I'm just going to pop open a fresh concepts map here. Just a moment. Thanks for being patient. So this is the Concepts app. It's free. I'm doing this with the iPad standing up right now. But this is basically in real time. There's like no lag or anything like that. So if you're interested in an iPad Pro with an Apple Pencil for drawing, I mean, it's about best in class for something digital. You could, obviously get away with having a Wacom tablet or something like that, but this is really nice too if you just want to do some sketching. Yeah, Gilson's mentioning that the process of accessing your Obsidian Sync after creating a new vault is a little confusing. I hope that this option is offered in the welcome screen in future versions. I think that would be a really good idea as well. Obviously, they're continuing to refine that user experience. Again, this application's really only been out in beta for hardly a week. So definitely know that there is some changes coming with that. Yeah, I think that really about covers what I wanted to touch on in today's live stream. I know I usually do live streams for about an hour, but I have some other things I need to get to this afternoon, but I definitely wanted to touch base. Oh, okay. Chris is wondering about sketching inside of Obsidian. Sorry, I didn't quite understand that. Sketching doesn't work in Obsidian at this moment in time. You can embed PDFs and the like in there or images, but you can't actually sketch in Obsidian. It would be pretty cool if you could, but at this moment that doesn't work. You can use your pencil to navigate around, but Yeah, there's no actual drawing feature in it. Oh, okay. So that's probably what you were seeing if I was using my pencil. So you can do in the latest update in iPad OS 14, you can do not sketching, but it's I can't remember what the feature is called, but you can write your words. And then it will automatically transcribe them, which is pretty fun. I like that. Greg's asking how do I use DevonThink in my workflow? Well, I haven't even paid for DevonThink on my iPad yet. It's been on my list to do, but I haven't done it. One of the things that I do with DevonThink is primarily use that as a store for reference materials. The two things I do at this moment in time is any web articles that I want to come back to and flesh out into literature or permanent notes in Obsidian at some point in the future. I clip them to DevonThink because then I have access to them in an offline capacity. Then the other thing that I do is I use that as my digital filing cabinet. So I'll scan files. I have a number of folders that are set up in there for taxes and for different kinds of receipts, important documents that I need to keep around for a while so that I don't have a bunch of paper sitting around in my office. I'll scan those using Scanner Pro on my iPhone. And then what I will do from there is I will transfer them into DevonThink. I actually have a folder set up in Dropbox that whenever DevonThink is open on my MacBook, my Mac Mini, there's a script that runs on that folder, and any file that comes into there automatically gets ingested into the DevonThink database. It's a script that's bundled in with DevonThink from the get-go. So if you get DevonThink for desktop, you can use that. But it's really nice because then I have Scanner Pro set up, which is not on my iPad, it's on my iPhone. I have Scanner Pro set up so that if there's any new scans that are made with Scanner Pro, that they're saved to that folder directly. So I don't even have to think about it. I just scan it and move on. It gets uploaded to Dropbox. When it hits my Mac Mini, it gets loaded into DevonThink if it's open. And if it's not, then it gets loaded in there the next time DevonThink opens up. So I think that's super helpful. And then I can sort those and name them however I need to inside the DevonThink database. So MK is asking, where is Obsidian Mobile? It is right here. We were just doing a bunch of different things with it. But if you missed some of it, you can definitely catch it on the video on demand version of this live stream, which I apologize has a big chunk of it where I forgot to turn my screen share on. So apologize about that. But this is Obsidian Mobile. It's basically Obsidian on mobile. And that's the extent that I have to say about it right now, because it works great. A couple of little UI bugs with it, but again, the developers are working on that. It's available to VIP supporters at this moment in time. So if you would like to head over to obsidian.md and get access to this, you can sign up for a VIP supporter license, and then you'll get access to that beta. Again, this will be opened up to insiders probably soon. I don't know. I'm not the developer. I don't work for them or work with them on this. This is just something I wanted to independently share today because I know it's something that people have really been looking forward to, and it is in the pipe. It's working great. So just wanted to let you all know about it. But that, I think, is going to wrap up my live stream for today. I'm really thankful for all of you showing up and joining today, asking questions about Obsidian Mobile and my iPad workflows. If you're looking at hanging out more, I am doing these a couple times a month, so be sure to hit the subscribe button if you want to get notified of it. You can also hang out in our Discord chat, which is at effectiveremotework.com/Discord. You'll get notifications of new videos and podcasts and community topics that we're doing there. We also have one podcast right now that I'm actively producing called Process. If you're into productivity, definitely check that out. That's at podcast.effectiveremotework.com as well. Thank you, everybody, again for tuning in. I'm going to sign off. I hope you have an excellent rest